Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, savings coming at ya, savings coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see you practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Kevin, the Cleveland Strangler, over at the Brothers Commonplace. And just a heads up about this episode, we switched it up a little bit. We decided to tell some Christmas or winter-themed scary stories. That includes Creepypastas, LetsNotMeets. Tim wrote a story, Toof wrote a couple of them, and Andrew reads one that was written by a little kid. So it's a lot of fun for us to make. And if this is something you enjoyed, let us know. We'll do it again sometime in the future. And if it's something that you absolutely did not like, then let us know. We will never do it again. And then next week, we will be getting back on track with our normal stuff when we will be kicking it off with Jack the Ripper. And don't forget to stick around after our closing music. We'll be playing a promo from one of our favorite podcasts, the Dark Divide podcast. So thank you, everyone, for listening and checking us out. Be good, stay safe, and laugh at the dark stuff.
All right, fellas, like we practiced.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4.
Come on down, hanging with the brothers tonight, yeah. Come on down to the Brothers Commonplace tonight.
Alrighty, welcome everyone to the Brothers Commonplace. We are a comedy podcast that covers monsters, murders, mysteries, and more. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be reading Christmas or winter-based stories such as like creepypastas and things like that. So let's go ahead and meet all the boys that are with us today, my good boys.
What's up, guys? This is Tim, or Miss Tasty, as that Catholic priest called me that time at my 5th birthday party.
And that's true, because me and Andrew, we tried to drive across the city to find him one time.
It's true. It's true.
What up? This is Spence, and I was trying to decide what I wanted to be for this episode. I was thinking how I'd try to be cool, but I also like to teach people stuff, so I was thinking I'd be Jonathan Turner from Boy Meets World.
Oh,
fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, I'm getting a little wild, especially around a full moon, so I thought maybe I'd be Taylor Lautner.
Oh, yes.
And then I realized I really like to invent stuff, and I'm a programmer by trade, so I thought maybe I'd be Thomas Alva Edison. So I just decided I'd be all three, and I'm Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yes.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Dude, I did not see that one coming.
Dude,
I should have.
Spence. I didn't see it coming either,
That
man.
was like Inception.
That's awesome. By the way, earlier on, nobody knew this, but Kevin cracked a sex drive joke, and the reason why nobody knew that is because me and Kevin are the only people that have seen that movie.
Thank you.
Yo, it's Andrew. Same shit, different week.
But he's
Ooh.
a juggalo cryptic killer now.
Yeah, he said same shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Same shit, same juggalo. And you all know me, it is the Cleveland Strangler. So before we jump into some of these stories, let me introduce you to Toof. My bad, dude. You just talked, so I forgot, man. My bad, Toof.
I'll let your segue back into it.
Hey, everybody, this is Toof, and I just got done with my transgender role in the new It movie, so you can call me Boy George. Oh, shit, Boy Georgie.
What you guys
so
won't,
good.
what you guys won't hear is that was Toof's second intro. His
boy.
first one was probably the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life, but it's so bad we can't release it.
I think we should.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so before we jump into these creepy pastas and short stories, anything you guys want to talk about real quick?
For anyone keeping track, we're Ohio boys, and the Cleveland Browns are 0-12 now.
Yeah.
13.
0-11.
Fucking... All right.
Not that it makes a
release this in a
difference.
couple weeks then.
By the time this comes out, we maybe. The Cavs have won 7 in a row, though.
That's true. Andrew, anything you want to say, dude?
I ate a lot and I really bad gas.
Mhm.
That's what we were talking
Fuck
about.
yeah, dude. No leaving the room if you got to let them rip, baby.
And dude, next one
No.
just fart into the mic.
So before we got together, I told them all, like, hey, let's read Christmas stories that are like scary stories or creepypastas. They don't have to be Christmas. Like, they could be winter-based, or if you can't find anything, just a really good one. So everyone came prepared with like a flash drive with their stories on it. Tooth pulled out a Post-it note and made the joke, like, hey, all right, I'm ready. I got my story. And we all laughed, and it wasn't a joke. He wrote it on a fucking Post-it note.
That's 2 for you.
I was driving home from work, and like I was thinking of it, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna lose this. And like as soon as I got home, I didn't have any paper, so I just wrote it on the Post-it note. But anyway, all right. This creepy pasta story is called The Drive. It was a cold December night, a little bit rainy, so the ground and the road was a little wet. Raining a little bit, so the road was a little bit slick. It was getting close to dark, so it was a little bit low visibility. A man and his son was driving to see his parents for holidays. The father, Dr. Woods, and his son were heading on an interstate where they passed a gas station. They saw someone with the gas pump in their hand, and there was no car. They were just standing there with the gas pump. So it freaked him out, and he was low on gas, and he wanted to stop in the gas station, but he decided not to, just because he's kind of a city guy, and he's kind of getting toward the country where his parents live, so he got a little freaked out. About 5 minutes before he got to his parents, this is kind of a rural area. He was going over a hill, and when he came to the top of it, he saw an Amish buggy. He saw lights coming from the other direction, and he had no time to pass the Amish buggy. So he collided with the Amish buggy and went into the ditch. 2 hours after the paramedics were there, he awoken from his mini coma to see that his son and the people in the Amish buggy were both deceased. Distraught, after he got released from the hospital, his parents took him to the house where he mourned. The next couple of years were distraught for Mr. Woods. Every Christmas, he didn't have much of a family, so he always went and visited his parents, and he took the same way there every single time. Every time he had to go over that hill. As the years came and came, he noticed something weird. There was always an Amish buggy right around that hill every single time he went by. Every single time. 6 years later, 6 Amish buggies, 6 times on that hill. So he pulled over after passing the Amish buggy on the 7th year. He went out and walked toward the Amish buggy, and he noticed something weird. When he passed it, he couldn't really tell, but when he stopped in front of it, he noticed the Amish buggy's not moving. It's sitting on top of the hill. As he approached the Amish buggy, he noticed there was no one inside. It's just a horse and a carriage. He noticed to the right of the Amish buggy in the ditch, he could see blood. Of course, he was panicked. He started freaking out, and he started following the blood into the snow, where he saw outlines in the snow of bodies, but he couldn't find the bodies. He didn't report this to the cops. He just carried along on his way. Every year, every till, he sees the Amish buggy. After years of this, probably a decade later, he went and sought help. It came to the conclusion he was still suffering from PTSD from the event, and he was also a war veteran, so it was kind of like he had double PTSD from that event and his past event. He could never come to grips with what he saw on that hill, or what happened in the Gulf War. Dr. Tiger Woods would never be the same again.
God damn it, dude.
Get it?
Son of a bitch. I knew that.
The Gulf War.
Oh my god! What the fuck?
All of that.
Oh my god!
Holy shit, dude.
How did you have that all written on a Post-it note? All right, so who wants to go next?
I'll go next, but this is just one from Creepypasta. So,
All right, cool.
I feel like I have to at least say I did not write this. This is called Christmas, and it's on Creepypasta. I don't know who wrote it. I could never sleep well in hotels. I guess that's somewhat of an understatement. I could never sleep well in general, but hotels were the worst. Just the thought of the previous occupant of this bed is a complete stranger was repulsive in my mind, but that's beside the point. What I'm getting at is how this lack of sleep in hotels changed my life. Christmas. We were spending Christmas in a shitty hotel and not with family. Great. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I don't enjoy all-you-can-eat buffet of soggy hash browns and grits for Christmas Eve dinner. Of course, the first snow of the season had to cancel our flight down to Virginia. It was Christmas Eve, and I was trying to sleep in this bleach-saturated room. My mind was wandering what happened in here to cause such an excessive amount of bleach needed. The room was nothing out of the ordinary. 2 beds, one for my dad and I, and another for my sister and mom. A bathroom, and a stained microwave that looked in need of a good dusting. Somehow I escaped the room, in stench of bleach, into a dreamless sleep. Waking up, I could tell it was early morning. My dad was next to me snoring, and he usually wakes up before 4 a.m. That's when it hit me. It's Christmas. I wasn't about to let this bad fortune ruin my favorite holiday. Looking across the bed at the clock to check the time is when I noticed it. The silhouette of a man about 6'3" across the room staring at my mom's sleep. Still half asleep and caught up in the moment, I couldn't help thinking of Santa Claus. Realized how stupid the thought was, and horror soon filled my head. I choked back a shriek. I knew I couldn't let him see me awake, so I quietly put my head back down, pretending to sleep. My mind was racing. Someone was in my room and I couldn't do anything. I was a scrawny 16-year-old. This man looked built like an ox. I wondered if I could wake my dad up in time, but I knew that it wouldn't work. He slept like a rock. A bucket of water couldn't get him up fast enough. I was practically in tears. I never felt so helpless. For a second time, I choked back a scream. He was standing next to me, and I could feel and hear his repulsive breath in my face. It smelled like he'd been eating rotten meat for a week now, with no thought to brush his teeth. He didn't know I was awake. Surely he did now. Seeing my face was contorted in fear. The breathing stopped, and I couldn't help the sigh of relief. I would have kicked myself, but there was no need. I heard the room door open and close. I launched out of bed. Nothing in the room was in disarray, and my family was still asleep. That couldn't have been a dream. I couldn't imagine it. Feeling awake as ever, a horrible idea popped into my head, and before I could push away, I was pulling the door open. Glancing back to the door in order to memorize the room number, I saw the giant spray-painted black X on the door. Had I seen this without the prior experience, I probably would have thought it was just stupid kids. I knew better, but not enough to know what it was for. My heart skipped a beat. There he was, turning the corner at the end of the hall. Why am I doing this? I tailed him down the parking lot. He was nowhere in sight. One moment he's walking out of the lobby, the next he's gone. Realizing how cold it is outside in the paper-thin pajamas, I returned to the lobby. No one was around. Strange. I could swear there was usually a night concierge. Adrenaline wearing off, I realized how stupid and rash my actions had been. He could have killed me. I cursed myself back up the stairs. I knew something was wrong when I got to my floor. The door to my room was wide open. I hadn't left it that way, right? I walked inside, and after a quick search of the room, I determined it's safe and my family was still asleep. I locked the door and got back into the bed, though I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I listened to my dad get up, and eventually my mom followed, but I still pretended to sleep. A few hours passed, and my parents got my sister and I up. We got into the car and made our way to the airport. Digging through my bag to grab my iPod led to the finding of something that hadn't been there on the previous day. A note that simply held 5 words I still think about this day. I knew you were awake. It's now been 2 months since the hotel experience. I'm still scared for my life, and it gets worse every day. That note I found wasn't the only one. I still receive them. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one, man. I like that.
Yeah, it took a little longer to read than I thought it was going to.
Oh, that's cool. I got a few longer ones too, but that was pretty good. I like it.
I enjoyed it. I don't understand what the X was in the door, which I liked. I like that it has stuff that would leave things to interpret what the hell that even meant. And what the guy was doing in there.
I think he was a rapper, because I think that X in the door, he gave it to you.
Oh, fuck yeah, X gonna give it to you.
It just reminded me of Fern Gully, honestly. The X.
Oh my god.
What if it was the X-Man of New Orleans and he got through your door by chiseling out a panel or turning into fucking mist?
I'll go next unless someone else wants to.
I'm gonna read one real quick, but it's a short story. I read in The Voice. It was a long winter, and my dearest Annie didn't make my cornbread the way I wanted to. So I threw it out the window and blamed it on the neighborhood retarded boy.
That was fucking terrifying.
Alrighty, so here we go. I remember that Christmas when I was 8 years old as if it had happened yesterday. I remember how I would lie very still under the old moth-eaten quilt my mother made. I was wide awake and listening for those familiar sounds. The thump of the front door closing. The clomp, clomp, clomp of my father's mud-caked boots on the stairs. And the sound to this day that fills me with revulsion and horror. Drip, drip, drip. Then my father would pass by my doorway, and the light from the hallway would cast his shadow on my bedroom wall, and the shadow of the bloody axe he carried in his hands. The next morning, I would eat my watery oatmeal in the wintry chill of our kitchen and ask my mother, very slowly and carefully, "Where was Daddy last night?" She would just look at me with her sad gray eyes. I will never forget the pain and torment in those eyes, but she never said a word. After breakfast, I would set about doing the chores on our little farm. My father never did much work on the farm. He always seemed to be busy with other matters. On those chilly, windy mornings, as the snow began to fall, I had a lot of time to think. At school, I couldn't pay much attention to my lessons. I was always lost in my own troubling thoughts. When I got home in the evening, I would arrive just in time to see my father leaving, his axe clutched tightly in his hands. I rarely saw my father during daylight hours, and at night, all I ever saw was his shadow. I can still vividly recall that terrible night when I was awakened by the sound of the shutters on my bedroom window clattering in the screaming December winds. When I got up to close the shutters, I happened to glance over at the barn and noticed a shadow in the darkness. It was my father, and he was putting something into the feed box we used for the cattle. I returned to bed and lay awake long into the night, puzzled by just what I had seen. Eventually, I fell into a tortured and troubled sleep. The next day, my curiosity got the better of me. I took the key that hung on the hook in the kitchen and I opened the feed box. I remember standing and staring for several seconds at the foul-smelling, bloody pulp inside, trying to understand why my father would put parts of a slaughtered animal into the feed box. Then I noticed something that struck horror into my soul. Just sitting up out of the bloody offal was a severed human hand. From that moment, I was filled with a nameless dread. I no longer looked to my parents with trust, but with a dark, creeping suspicion. I began to notice things that had previously escaped my attention. Newspaper headlines that spoke about brutal murders and discovered bodies. Overheard conversations about a bloodthirsty fiend on the loose. Finally, I heard a boy at school utter two words that repeated over and over in my tortured mind. Axe murderer. That night, my sleep was invaded by shapeless horrors. In these nightmares, I saw two images that haunted me constantly, the face of my father and an axe dripping with blood. Unable to sleep, I got out of bed and crept downstairs, taking my father's axe from the fireplace. I dimmed the lights and crouched in the darkness at the top of the stairs. It seemed an eternity before I heard the key in the lock and the front door swing open and close. Thump! I listened for those familiar footsteps on the stairs. Clump, clump, clump. Stepping out of the darkness, I raised the axe above my head and brought it crashing down. In the eerie silence that followed, I listened for the sound of any movement from my parents' bedroom. I hoped against hope that my mother had heard nothing. The only sound I heard was the creaking of the floorboards beneath my feet and the pounding of my heart. I looked for the last time at the headless body that lay crumpled at the bottom of the stairs, then quietly tiptoed back to my bed. Early the next morning, I was awakened by the sound of strange voices in our hallway. Silently, I crept to the top of the stairs and peered down at the scene below. A group of policemen were crowded around my father's bloody corpse. My mother was standing beside them, watching silently. No one was paying any attention, but when she glanced up, she noticed me. Then, very briefly, very discreetly, she gave me a knowing wink.
So she killed him, but the mom took the blame.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. We can all relate to that story. So.
Yeah.
All right, Spence, you're up, brother.
This is from the subreddit called LetsNotMeet, which is a great place to find scary stories.
Nice. I was hoping you would go with that.
That's all Let's Not Meet all the time, man.
Hell yeah.
This is by username She's a Holocaust.
Wow.
Oh.
Nice. Good game.
And the title is I hated working the early shift, and it is tagged NSFW.
Oh, shit. Plug those ears, Andrew.
Is it rated FRITRP?
Fritterp?
Fuck right in the pussy.
Around 6 years ago, I worked in a small convenience store in a pretty quiet neighborhood. I was around 18 at the time, maybe a little older, and all of the staff members were female. With it being such a small store, we literally had 5 staff members who rotated shifts. I remember that when this incident took place, the manager had decided to take sick leave, and that left little old me to run the store as I had been working there the longest. Our tiny little shop opened at 5 in the morning, and being the good sport that I am, I decided that I would work the early shifts because the other members of staff were a little nervous with their lack of training on opening, and the fact it was in the middle of winter, it was actually a little unnerving opening a store completely on your own while so dark and evidently quiet. This one morning, I opened the shutters at around 4:30 a.m. I turned on the crappy little heater as I made my way out to the back to make myself a coffee, then went to the front of the store where our newspapers were sat waiting to be put on the shelves. I got the papers out, headed outside for a cigarette before opening. The few feet of snow added to the eeriness of this morning. Around 6 a.m. every morning, we would get a steady flow of builders and workmen coming in to buy a few Kit Kats and Red Bulls. Knowing them all quite well, I often took some form of comfort from knowing that if anything went wrong, I had a lot of big men headed in to save the day. This morning, 6 a.m. came and went, and I had literally not had a single customer. I bet the snow is too bad to work. I flicked through magazines and drank too much coffee just to keep occupied. At around 6:30, I popped into the kitchen to turn on the kettle, and I hear someone come in and cough at the counter. I make my way from out of the back and see a tall, lanky, intoxicated man standing, staring at the cigarettes. I apologize for his delay and ask him, "What can I help you with?" I'm horrible. I was taken back a little bit by what this man said and repeat myself and ask, "What can I help him with?" "I need you to punch me in the face. I'm a terrible man. I don't know why I did it. I don't know." At this point, I was borderline shitting bricks. I know that if this man wants to hurt me, there is literally fuck all I can do. I'm tiny in comparison. I try and play it off as a joke and say something along the lines of, "Don't be crazy. I don't go punching people, hardy har." The man is not amused by me. For the first time, he looks at me, leans over the counter, and starts slurring disgusting things he wants to do to me. "What if I fucked you so hard you couldn't breathe anymore? What if I made you bleed? I'm going to make you gag on my cock for being a slut. I need you to punch me." My heart had stopped. I had no panic buttons. The only phone I had was just out of reach, but even if I had gotten it, there was literally nowhere to lock myself in while I waited for help. I was frozen. I just stared at this man blankly until I heard, "What the fuck did you just say?" and a loud crack as I watched my bleedy raper friend's jaw was no longer in line with his face. Apparently, when I was making coffee, 2 customers had come in. Lanky Butt Nugget and one of my faithful builders that was later disappointed that no one had informed him that it was a snow day. My builder pal wrestled our lovely friend out of the store, where he managed to pretty swiftly disappear considering the amount of snow. That morning, I made my builder friend a cup of tea and didn't charge him for his purchases as a massive thank you for what he did. God knows what may have happened. So, lanky, crooked-faced bad man, let's not meet.
And then I heard at the very end, Spicoli walked out and he said, "Awesome, totally awesome."
Fuck yes, dude.
That was cool. I like that
Dude,
one, man.
that was super,
That sucked.
super creepy. And as he was telling the story, there was like a big pound on the porch. I think only me and Toof heard. But yeah, that was really creepy.
Yeah, fuck that. That would suck, man. Especially when you're at work, you're just helpless.
I'm not very good at making people sound cool when they talk in stories, so
Don't worry about it, man.
I didn't try
This
either.
this story is so good. You don't. It pretty much does it for you.
But do it in Smeagol's voice.
Yeah, please.
Wherever there are kids playing or having fun, wherever there is a home run or touchdown or hole in one, there are the sport zombies. Jesus Christ.
Yes, dude.
I learned about the sports zombies personally. Unfortunately, I'm a sports nut. Ever since I was 4, when it was my first football game, I loved it. I learned of the sport zombies when I was playing golf. My friend Eric and I went to the putting green. You first, I said. He stroked and the ball landed next to the hole. Oh my God. After a few minutes of playing, we were at the last hole, hole 18. I looked across the difficult lane staring at the hole so far away. Ready? I asked. Eric nodded. It was a hard shot. Here goes nothing. He raised the club and pulverized the ball. Whack. It soared for quite a long time. He looked at me with a shocked look. Wow, he exclaimed. I nodded and we went to the hole. The ball was inches from the deep pit, swaying back and forth, back and forth. Will it go in? It finally halted on the ground. Dang it, breathed Eric. Just then I saw a flash from the hole. A black flash. Was it a hand? It looked like one, but it was too fast. God damn it. The blur of black came out of the hole and snatched the ball with extreme speed. Like the Pokemon move.
Oh.
Eric, I said, you cheated. Eric was pouting at the accusation. No, I didn't. What? You think I magically made the ball go in? I sighed. Oh, well. Eric, get your ball, I commanded. I want to hit now. Eric bent over and looked inside. God damn it. No wonder I had to fucking read. Oh, shit. I went too far. No, I got it. Eric bent over and looked inside. That ball is down there deep. The hole is pretty deep, too. God, fuck yeah. All I see is black, he complained. Oh, my God. He got on his knees and put his eye close to the small hole. He reached down. All I saw was the same black raggedy thing. What I thought was a hand reach up and take a hold of Eric's wrist. Eric let out a cry and he tugged. Then he heard a snap of teeth and Eric yelped. He hanged back his hand, one finger looking dislocated. He squirmed around and then the hand gripped his head. He was somehow squeezed in the hole and was gone. I ran away and never saw him again. Then I studied these sports zombies, and I knew why they only attacked when athletic sport events occurred. Kids at sports, kids run free. Then many days later, I was playing baseball. What was the chance of sport zombies? None. I was running the bases. The ball almost hit me, but I sprinted to home. Before I knew it, 2 hands reached up from the dirt and grabbed me. A screaming face pulled me down, and I knew no more. Oop, is that it? Now I'm a sport zombie. I'm tired of human flesh.
What?
Though, so I am writing this note to help you survive. Never play a sport. Never have fun. Wait, I've been captured. I'm writing this before my execution to the underworld. Here comes my killer. Be safe before my inevitable death.
What the fuck?
All right. So was that like Space Jam and then like Angels in the Outfield, but like with zombies, I guess? Or
That was fucking good.
Nice job, Andrew. That was the shit,
Yeah,
bro.
great.
You should have had 2 of those. That would have been fucking awesome to read that.
Sport zombies.
Wait, somebody made that up?
Yeah. I found
I
out
wanna
on
meet
that
that
was a
person.
website where it was written by kids.
So they were fucking watching Space Jam and Angels. Okay, that makes
All
sense.
right. So nicely done, Andrew. Thank you, brother.
It didn't say the date. It didn't say the date or like who wrote that, right?
No, I didn't.
All right, cool. I'd like to keep my identity.
What was the title then?
Submitted for the approval
Oh.
of the Brothers Commonplace. I give you 10 Things I Love About Janie by Ricky. All right.
Hey,
I-
not again.
That was just a joke for Kevin. That's not what this is actually called. I was thinking about calling it Cold Karma, but really I didn't really think too much about the title. So I mean, you guys can come up with one afterwards if you want.
Just already, I like the name of that. That sounds cool.
He awoke from his abnormally deep sleep because of an intense pain that seemed to travel through his whole body. He opened his eyes expecting the need to adjust them to light, but there was no light. He He had no idea where he was, but it was freezing and he couldn't see a thing. Had he gone blind? What had happened? Where was he? Last thing he remembered, he was hitting on that fine piece of ass at the corporate Christmas party. He was about to seal the deal, too. Girls didn't say no to him. Nobody said no to him. Not with his power and money. But where was he now? And why was he unbearably cold and wet? He could feel snow under his hands as he attempted to push himself to his feet. His legs didn't seem to want to work, which told him he must have been out here for a while. And he was in legit danger of frostbite or even freezing to death entirely. He could see light in the far distance to his left. He had no idea where it was coming from, but finding out seemed like a better idea than laying here waiting to die. He began to slowly crawl his way in the direction of the light. As he moved, he thought about who could possibly have done this to him. Who would harm him or possibly kill him? The answer was just about anyone. He was a bad guy and he loved it. He stepped on just about anyone who got in his way as he rose to the top. He would do it all again if given the chance. Money was and had always been his only love. He laughed to himself as he thought of what he was going to do to whoever had done this to him. He'd strangle him with his bare hands if he had the chance. He was even closer to the light now, and a rundown shed was coming into view. The light seemed to come from a candle somewhere inside. He was surprised when he found the door to be open. As he crawled his way in, he noticed that it was not much warmer here than it was outside. He made his way to the source of the light. He found it in what must have been the living room of this crappy little dump. The light was coming from a small fire pit that had been built on the floor. Two bodies that seemed to be frozen solid were hunched near the fire, clearly trying unsuccessfully to stay warm in an unnaturally cold winter. He wondered how the fire was still lit, but the corpses caught his attention. He recognized the man as Johnson. He never bothered to learn his first name. Johnson was a smart young upstart who had gotten fired a little over a month ago. He had made up a theft story to get Johnson fired, because Johnson seemed too good and may eventually threaten his place in the company. Nobody had questioned a thing. They never did. He had connections. He knew how to cover his tracks. Turns out Johnson's firing really had an impact on him. However, Johnson wasn't the corpse that surprised him the most. The woman that cuddled up to Johnson seemed to be that piece of ass that he had been hitting on at the corporate party. But how could that be possible? This woman looked like she'd been dead for weeks, and the party was just mere hours ago. Wasn't it? How long had he been here? Was he going mad? Panic began to swell in his stomach. It looks like they're staring at me now. Are they staring at me? Am I really going mad? He asked himself as he could feel every bit of energy leaving his body. I must be mad, he thought. But that didn't make it any less terrifying as he watched the triumphant smile creep over the faces of the frozen couple. That was the last thing he saw before everything went black.
Pretty good, Primo. I like that shit, dude.
Thanks, man. I it was hard to read without stuttering a bunch, but
no, you're good. That was cool, man.
Thanks, guys.
I like it.
What's next?
I work at the office with them.
Yeah.
I'm just an intern right now.
Yeah.
But I know actually why she was cut up with him. His nickname was Big Dick Johnson. So I could see that. I could see why.
I mean, I was actually gonna add that in. I didn't want to. Spoiler alert.
Fuck yeah, dude. Cool stuff.
I don't know how you wrote a sequel to Rogue One so quickly.
Oh, fuck yeah.
He just said that because he saw the Star Wars background on this computer. Oh, no? Oh, I thought that's why he said it.
This is another story from Let's Not Meet. This one is by username Silver Starfire. And the title is, well, I'm not going to read the title because it kind of spoils it. I'm just going to preface this by saying that I was the creepy party involved. I was in a small forest nearby my house one night at around 1 a.m. on a winter night. The reason for this was because I was practicing meditation, and I sometimes like to go out into nature during sessions. I sat under a tree, the place was deserted when I got there, and just calmly melted into the environment. I managed to get into a pretty deep state, so everything was sort of dreamlike. About halfway into it, these two young women, likely teenagers, came in. They were getting drunk or high and were giggling and tipsy. They sat down about 20 feet from me, facing away, chatting, totally unaware of my presence. Then one of them noticed me and freaked out. Whoa, what is it? Did you see that? She said to her friend. Then the other one noticed me, an ambiguous silhouetted lump under a pine tree, and shrieked. My response was, in a monotonous drone, "Don't worry, I am a human woman." I was in a particularly deep state at the time, so I didn't really think about how it sounded until afterward. One of them responded, kind of stuttering, and asked what I was doing. I explained that I was meditating and they didn't need to worry about me and that they could proceed with the drinking. Needless to say, they laughed it off nervously and then quickly made an excuse to leave. Don't worry, I am a human woman.
That's pretty funny.
That's the title, by the way.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, good thing you didn't read it. That makes it funny.
Yeah, I like the because you never really see it told by the creepy party.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool. I like that.
Something similar happened when I was a kid. When I was like 15, I made up a girlfriend, and my friends called her cell phone to see if she was real, and that's how she answered. I did it in that voice.
Usually, when I'm about to, take a girl out and stuff, and like we have a good night and stuff, and we get back to my house and she sees my downstairs area, I have to tell her that I'm not a human woman. They never believe it.
I usually say the same thing like just before orgasming when I'm jacking off. Don't worry, I am a human woman.
And then usually people kick him out of their house. But
are you so you're Caitlyn Jenner then?
Okay. Maybe I'm not caught up on all the latest news.
February, snow's melting. Starting to get warm out, but still chilly, it's February.
It's usually like the fucking coldest part of the
Snow is melting. I was like, as soon as he said that, me and Spence just locked eyes and we shook our heads no. Like,
it doesn't melt till like late April.
Anyway.
Starting to get warmer.
Things are about to get a little bit more rated R or a little bit more FHRITP. My neighbor has been missing for 4 days now. People are starting to get worried. I decided, you know what? I'm the hero this town needs. I'm going to go searching our mutual woods. About 3 hours into it, I see his body. Our local shopkeep, my best friend, and my neighbor, Fred Ferguson, found dead. I hope no one ever finds out what I did.
I was waiting for like some kind of Freddy got fingered joke.
who's Fred Ferguson? I don't know who that is.
The fucker right in the pussy guy.
Oh! That's his name? That's his name?
I didn't know they had his name.
I looked it up.
Yeah, I didn't know that was his name either. Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Dude, I like how he waited 4 days and was like, yeah, I'm gonna go find him when he fucking did it.
Yeah. All right, so that's all we have for this week. We were just changing it up a little bit. We thought it'd be fun just to read some cool creepypastas and scary stories. And then we're going to get back on our regular scheduled stuff. Next week, we're going to be covering some cryptids. And then the following week after that, we're going to cover Jack the Ripper.
Wait, Kevin, what's a cryptid?
You'll have to tune in next week to find out, Jeremiah.
We also do know who Jack the Ripper was, too, so if you wanted to tune in.
Yeah, tune in.
I'm on the edge of my seat already.
Oh, actually,
Hey, are you Jack?
I'm just going to say, when we were doing...
But it's just simple, Jack.
Oh, my God.
We do actually know who Jack the Ripper is, though. We legit do.
Wasn't it William Shakespeare?
Yes.
Actually, I
well-
heard it was Queen Latifah.
Well, I mean, no, there's no point to listening to Jack the Ripper now.
Yeah.
It was both of those people.
All right, so Spence, hit us with that closing shit.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. And do we have an Instagram? Because I had people ask me that.
We don't, but mine, which is KGreen6337, I think.
Okay.
I put all of our podcast stuff on there.
Okay.
So I guess use that until I make one.
All right. And find the podcast wherever podcasts are sold. iTunes. I like one called Castbox. There's Stitcher. There's all kinds of different places to get podcasts, including our website, which you can find by going through our social media probably. It's the best way. And what would really help us out is if you can leave star reviews or even written reviews.
How many stars?
That would be 5. 5 is the correct answer. And just whenever you do that, that helps expose us to more people, which helps us help you.
And also, we do have an email now, so if you want to contact us, it's brotherscommonplace@gmail.com. And we just finished our little promo thing. So if you other podcasts out there want to do a promo swap, get a hold of us. We'll send you ours, you send us yours, and we'll be playing them each week. So that should be fun, should be cool.
Other podcasts that goes for nudes too.
Oh, God.
That's brotherscommonplace@gmail.co.uk.geocities.yahoo.com.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Slash hamster dance.
God damn it, Mom! We're not covering the Hamburglar. It's not real. I've been telling you this for fucking 15 years now.
Yeah, well, you know what? I still want to cover it.
And Andrew, we like to end it with some words of wisdom from your brother, so hit us with some
Well,
words.
I mean, honestly, if you like play with our ass, we'll definitely play with your ass with the podcast. So just hook us up.
Oh, yes, dude. Holy
All
shit.
right, well, thank you.
We will be famous after Andrew saying that.
Yeah, so just keep the ratings and reviews coming. Keep sharing with your friends. That'd help us out a lot. It means a lot to us.
Oh, what's that simple, Jack? You want to add something in? You liking my podcast gives me good head movies.
Alrighty. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Be good. Stay safe.
And laugh at the dark stuff.
Hey listeners, my name is Krista, and I host a narrative true crime podcast called The Dark Divide. I've always been interested in the circumstances and events which shape a seemingly ordinary life into something made out of our worst nightmares. And now I get to take you all along through the depths of obsessive research and my need to explore the unknown. So I invite you to come stare into the abyss with me. Right now we're available on iTunes and Podbean. See you there.
I found myself in a large cave. I was resting on bedded tree branches. Where they came from, I could only guess. It wasn't but a few minutes then the Yeti who captured me entered the cave. He was huge, almost 7 feet tall. He had long brown hair on his body, and I could smell a foul odor coming from him. I tried to slink away, but he walked over to me and he started to howl. I got really scared. I thought he was going to kill me and use me as his food. The Yeti started to paw at me and pulled my coat off. He wasn't so gentle with my undergarments. He literally shredded them with the long nails of his fingers. I was lying there naked with only my boots still on. He lowered his head and started to sniff me. I looked over and saw something that really scared me. This Yeti's cock was hard. It must have been nearly a foot long. It was dripping from the tip of his monstrous cock. It was also very thick. The Yeti reached down and grabbed my ankles and pulled my legs apart. No, please don't. I was crying out to him. That wasn't going to stop him, but I didn't know what else to do. He got down on his knees. That big Yeti cock was aimed right for my opening. He pushed the head of his cock to my folds. He pushed the head of his cock to my folds, and then he entered me. I nearly passed out again. It hurt like hell. That giant prick was splitting me open. This Yeti didn't fuck gently either. He was trying to feed me every inch of his rod. I don't know how, but he finally got his cock into me almost all the way. It felt like a large tree branch was stuck in me. Then he started to fuck me hard. I started to scream immediately. But that only seemed to get him more excited.
Oh my god.
The Yeti had my legs pushed back, and he drove that huge dick into me as hard as he could. I'm ashamed to say that I was orgasming as he took me. I was gushing my womanly juices all over that Yeti cock. He had me coming like crazy. Once I had squirted my juices on his cock, he roared and flooded me with his Yeti cum. It was as if someone poured a bucket of fluid into me. My pussy had a tight hold on his dick, and I was milking all his seed from him. And that's all I got from that. But I will give you a little heads up. 2 more Yeti eventually come in.
Holy shit. I didn't know you were going to read Monsters, Inc. erotica.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Damn.
So, yeah, I hope you're happy, Dad. I finally read your goddamn story on the podcast.
I was gonna say this actually isn't like a fake story or anything. This is actually the time that WWE did that House of Horrors match with Big Show against Hornswoggle.
I actually first heard this story because I went to like a murder mystery party. No, I have nowhere to go. This is just gonna be we acted this out instead of playing the game, but this isn't even funny.
Hey, is that everything, Kev?
Yeah, that's all.
Because your dad texted me, said you didn't say the last line.
Oh shit, what is it, too?
I screamed out, I don't think you're ready for this Yeti 2 bootylicious, baby.
This February, history will be made. Millions will watch as 80 years of unjust stigma is left in the past. A product that drove good people to the black market will be revealed as one that's creating a new global market. This February, what inspired the symbol of counterculture will at long last be seen as just culture. The new normal is coming. Will you be one of the first to see it? Visit medmen.com to watch an exclusive preview.
This is firefighter Raphael Poirier for Firehouse Subs. Introducing new Firehouse Pairs. Pair your favorite small sub with a signature side, like the awesome 5-cheese mac and cheese. And remember, a portion of every purchase at Firehouse Subs goes towards helping first responders. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Participating locations only. Firehouse Subs will donate a minimum of $1 million in 2019 to the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation by donating 0.11% of every purchase.